What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training. I want to wish you guys a happy Thanksgiving, and thanks for tuning into this video. We're going to be talking about 3 press releases that you guys can use to just pretty much get off of man coverage and get off of press man, right? So we're going to be talking about a double up release, we're going to be talking about a slide release, then we're going to be talking about a hesitation release and how you guys can get a read on a DB, okay, guys? And also, if you're a receiver and you want to get better at your catching ability, but you don't have a quarterback to throw to you, maybe you're just stuck at home, you can't get out with the quarterback, or whatever it is, you don't have somebody to throw you 100 footballs, check out that link in the description. It says improve your hands in 30 days, full 30-day catching program. No quarterback necessary to improve your hands. Let's get started with this breakdown. Again, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. So, first thing we're going to be talking about is this double up release, okay? So this double up, what that is essentially like you want to step first to the side that you want to go, right? So in this case, Davante Adams is wanting to take an inside release. He's going to be running a dig, and this is a great release to use when you're maybe a first read on a play, right? Not every single release is the same. Not every single situation is the same. That's why you got to have a high football IQ as a receiver. So you see how he comes out and he throws this 1-2. Very sudden with his feet, very explosive, and that's what it takes to get some separation, okay? So let's break this thing down. So when he comes off here and he works that 1-2, right? It's so important that on any kind of like double up release or even a wide step release, that second step is really important, right? On a wide step release, I teach taking like that little almost false step with the front leg, not so much like an actual step, it's like a half step. I wouldn't even call it a false step, but anything to shoot you to where you could step outside the DB's frame. Because if you can step outside of his frame but still remain within your frame, you can be explosive but also sell the route. Now, where's this DB supposed to be watching? That's what we got to think about on all these releases. We got to think like a DB. He's supposed to be watching my hips, right? So he's looking at my hips. He's trying to see where I'm going to go. So if I hit him with this inside move and then throw outside, I got to make sure that I throw my hip. I don't want to open up my toe, but you see how Adams goes here. And you see how his upper half turns. That's what we need with your upper half, okay? It can't be I open my chest way up, I pop my chest up, or I just stay square, right? You got to step outside of his frame and almost like a crossover, right? Like in basketball, you guys don't throw a crossover and open up your toes. You throw out, like you're stepping out. You're throwing your hip almost towards the sideline and stepping outside of his frame but with his toes forward. Now, why do I stress having toes forward on this type of a release? Because it keeps the weight on the inside arch of your foot. If you have weight on the inside arch of your foot, you can push off that inside arch and create some explosion, right? You see how his shin angle's at this 45 degree, right? That's something you see like another great guy who does that is like Jerry Jeudy, right? He's kind of almost freakish with his knees like that. His knees will almost be like damn near touching the ground, right? So it's important. I'm not saying that you need that, but it's important that you keep your toes forward so we can actually push and create some energy. Because if you open up that toe and you step out here and you open up your hips, we got no explosion back to the inside. And even if I do get this guy off the platform, I'm not going to be able to make him miss by pushing out of there. So you see how Adams, he uses that first step to push him out, right? Anytime we use a double up, that first move, whether it's an in-out release or an out-in release, where I step with my outside foot first, I want to make sure that first step pushes me out. You don't want to just take a step with this. That's the mistake that people make. They'll just step, right? And that's something you see so often with young receivers. They just step and step, and they take 2 quick moves. That's not what we need. We want a quick move. Obviously, we want to be sudden, but we also want to create some explosion and push off the inside arch onto the first move, right? So my left leg goes, I push off the left leg, and I throw outside with the right leg, stepping outside of his frame. I throw my hip. I sell with my upper half so I can actually push out of there. And you see how well he's pushing off of that right leg? That's what gives him that explosion, and that's what can help me get upfield, okay? And that's all we're really going to be focused on. We're focused on focused on releases today, not top of the route, okay? So that double up release, great way to get separation. Now, let's say you wanted to run an outside release, right? What foot would he step with first? He'd step with his outside foot. So he'd go right, left, and he'd take the outside release running this dig. DB's going to turn and run with you. You work a throw by, maybe you restack, you give him a move, but that's what we got to be able to do. We got to be able to have a first explosive step, use that first step to push you and throw your hip out wide, step outside the guy's frame, and then drive up that inside arch. Let's watch it again full speed. So he goes 1-2, sell with my upper half, sudden with my feet to force a reaction, and make sure I have explosion. All right, so now we're going to be looking at this slide release here, and we're going to be talking about the situation to use this slide release, because this is not the last release we used, right? Double up. Quick 2 steps. This, obviously a little bit longer. You're sliding into open space. You're trying to move this DB off his platform, and it takes a little bit more time. So you would only want to use this in maybe a play action situation, or like maybe when you're the third read on a play, right? Or there's some situations maybe in the goal line where you could use this if you got good chemistry with your quarterback. He knows he's going to work this. But if you're a first read, you got to go with something else. That's why you got to know the whole play. That's why you got to understand the whole offense rather than just, okay, I'm running this slant. This is what I could do on a slant. That's not how you do it. That's a mistake I made early on, right? It's not about just, I know all these releases, I could use them whenever I want. It's knowing when to use them and not overcomplicating things. Everybody Let's talk about how detailed I am with breakdowns. Some people like it, some people don't like it, right? But the reason why I'm detailed is because I want you to understand that you guys have to know when to use this stuff rather than just use it. You guys have to know when to do it rather than the technique behind it, right? So now, when he slides into open space right here, it's very important that when you work this slide release, you make this DB make a decision. So I got to either make him come at me or shuffle with me. And I like him shuffling with me because then I can work this crossover like a double up, right? So you see how he slides into open space. You see how it's almost like on a 45-degree angle. It obviously doesn't have to be that precise, like it doesn't need to be a perfect 45, but when we can slide and when we slide flat, that's what a lot of people do. They'll slide flat and they'll just shuffle to the side. This DB can just shuffle with me and I'm not going to get any separation. And some guys will slide too vertical and then the DB could get hands and we cover myself. I want to be in this range where the DB can't get hands. If he stuck his hands straight out, he wouldn't be able to touch me. So if he's going to go get hands and get physical, because that's what everybody says to do on this release to stop it, he's going to have to come at me. He's going to have to lunge at me. And then if he lunges at me and he's in that like 45-degree angle with his body, I could swat his hands off and then go. But if he decides to stay disciplined and watch my hips and shuffles out with me, I could work that crossover. I could sell with my upper half just like we were doing, and then I could accelerate on this slant, right? There's many different ways you could kind of do this slide release. Like if you got to run a fade, you could slide and then go. Right? So you could give him the same little slide, try to get him to sit to the inside like we just ran a slant, and then go. You could slide and give him a left, right, left, and maybe sell like you're going vertical. You could slide and go left, right, take it vertical. It's all about being able to build off of this, right? So sliding into open space, understanding the concept of range. I get the question asked a lot. I know this isn't the best example of this, but if I'm a smaller receiver, how can I beat, bigger physical linebackers? That's a question I get asked a ton. And in that situation, like right now, this slide release is perfect because if you slide into open space and you're setting traps for this guy, I'm not going to sit there and try to box with a boxer, right? If I'm a jiu-jitsu guy or I'm a grappler, I'm going to try to take him down, right? So if you're a shorter guy and you're quicker, let's not try to sit there and just hand fight with a big linebacker. Let's slide to space, set a trap for him, try to get him to come at me, try to get him to lunge at me, and then I either just go, I swat him by, and I take the inside release, okay? Now, I am not doing this release if I got to go run a 12-yard dig like in the last example, right? I'm doing this. The only time I teach this slide personally, just because I think there's a lot of other ways you could do things, is on, and there are many different teachings, right? But I teach it on a slant and a fade. That's it. That's the only way that this builds, okay? So we got to make sure we slide open space, and then if he stays disciplined with me, I can cross him up. I can hit him with that 1-2, same technique as before. You see how he's throwing his hips, he's selling with his upper half. That's what gets that DB to work off that platform. Now, the biggest thing about this slide release, though, because we went patient, we got to be able to go from 0 to 100, right? So when I get him to move off that platform and I give him a move, I got to accelerate. You got to accelerate off the line. I can't make that move and then come out and cruise and think, oh yeah, broke his ankles and just cruise out of the break, especially on a slant. Quarterback expects you to be there now and be ready. So I got to snap my eyes around. I got to make sure I accelerate because I want to widen the distance with this DB. I slide him, I freeze him, I leave him, and then I accelerate. That's what I need from you guys, especially on this slide release because we're going patient. So it takes a little bit of time. So patient slide, 1-2, he slides with me. I get him off that platform. I got to drive off of that left leg just like we were talking about, pushing off that inside arch, and then accelerate on that slant. Let's watch it again full speed one more time. Great job working this slide. Get him into space, cross him up, and let's make sure I accelerate. Great route. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about a little hesitation release and what to do when a DB jumps and how you could get a read on a DB, right? So Allen is one of the best at this, coming off the line and giving a hesitation, right? So this is something that a lot of people don't understand because they come up and they just expect, okay, I'm going to do this release and it's going to work, right? But you guys got to have a reactionary plan. A lot of the time releases, it's all about reacting off of this guy, right? So if I can react off of this DB and react off of what he's going to do, that's going to help me create some space, right? So when I come off the line of scrimmage and I give this DB maybe this little like hesitation release, right? I'm here, I hesitate, and I attack him. If you can put this DB on the defensive and attack him and attack his midline, right? What's his midline? Like you want to pretend like there's a line going down the middle of his body. I attack this DB. I attack his midline. Maybe he backs up. Maybe he gets on his heels. Maybe he sits flat. Or maybe he tries to keep his leverage. Like let's say he's outside shade. He keeps his leverage to the outside. Okay, fine. I got to run a slant. Let's make sure I take advantage of it. So if I hesitate off the line right here, I hesitate at him and he jumps to the outside and he's trying to get hands, I don't have to make a move or nothing. He stayed to the outside. I got to take an inside release and run a slant. This hesitation release, I could use this in a lot of different routes, a lot of different situations. It's all about reading and reacting off of this DB. So I hesitate. I see that he keeps outside shade. Fine. I'm not going to force anything. I'm just going to take this inside release. Now, when it comes to making moves like this and you attack a DB and he's here and you want to take an inside release, what arm do you have to beat? You got to beat his inside arm. That's literally all it is. People think press is so complicated to get off. They try to make it so overcomplicated. If I attack a DB, I square him up. I want to take an outside release. I got to beat his outside arm. In this case, it'd be his left arm. If I want to take an inside release, I got to run a quick slant. I know I got to beat his right arm. So let's take it to him. Let's try to get him on that defense. offensive, try to get him on those heels, and then I'm able to swat. And you see where he's attacking. He's attacking that back of his elbow or the back of his arm. That's a point of control. You got here, back of like almost the wrist, and then back of the shoulder. Those are the 3 points of control that you want to attack from a DB, because when you get him to be here and you get those hands off and you're physical and you attacked him, got him on his heels, his hips lock out. And when his hips lock out, I can do exactly what I was just talking about. I can accelerate and focus on widening the distance and catch this ball. It's a great job by Allen working this hesitation release. So you want to hesitate. It's about gathering info. You hesitate at DB. Let's say you're running a longer route. Like let's say you're running a fade. You hesitate, you attack a DB, you get him on his heels, get him to keep his leverage, whatever it is. Let's say in this situation, Allen's got to run a fade, right? He's going to run vertical downfield. I attack his leverage. Let's say the DB shoots to the inside and keeps his leverage. I just go, right? I'm not going to force an inside release, even if that's what I want. Initially, I want to come off. Okay, maybe I think he's going to backpedal. I can take an inside release. I come off. He shoots to the inside. Let's just take the outside release. All about having a plan, all about being able to read this guy. Let's watch this thing again, full speed, one more time. So he comes off here, hesitates, gets those hands off of him, make sure we swat, and make sure we accelerate out. Great route. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope this video gave you some value. And also, if you're a receiver and you want to get better hands, check out that link in the description. It says improve your hands in 30 days. And also, guys, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. If you have any questions, leave those in the comments. I'll see you guys next time.